Okay, so why I think as I think. Right, so this really goes back to this picture here, which you would have seen, I don't know, video one, video two, or whatever. I think it might be video one actually. Right, so 19 years old, I was in 19 years old, I was in Addis Ababa, and I was woken up by some people next door to me in the room. Okay? And so I got up out of bed, 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize there was a curfew from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock every single night. Got outside, a young guy who was sleeping under some corrugated iron, right? Heard me, walked past, got up, had a gun in his hand, took it out, pointed it at me, and woke everyone up because obviously I was completely terrified. Woke everyone up within the hotel, and the couple who had probably kept me awake all night came rushing out. She was called Rose, and I just gave him the name Big Jack. I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember. For some reason, I just called him Big Jack. Anyway, so Big Jack said, no. Big Jack happened to be an officer in the Ethiopian army, as I later found out. So he came out, told the soldier to calm down, that I was just staying in the hotel, all good. And very simply, he said to me, well, what are you doing here? Why are you staying in this hotel? So I told him the story that I wanted to get to Asmara, which is in Eritrea, which he found really funny because he was in the Ethiopian army, and at that time Ethiopia was at war with Eritrea, but it was like a skirmishy type war. It wasn't a full-on war. Anyway, for the next 24 hours, right, he said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what Ethiopia is like. So we got up and we walked to the world's largest outdoor market in the world. He brought me some food and we had the most amazing coffee. So the world's largest outdoor market, probably all organic, obviously, really tasty food, right? Lovely food, great coffee, great company. He brought in all his mates and they were all laughing because I said I was going to Asmara. I said, no, this is the whole purpose of the trip. I want to try and get to Asmara. And then he said, no, Charlie, I'm just going to show you what Addis Ababa is like, okay? What the city is like, what our heritage is like. So the next stage was they took me to an artist who took me downstairs, and he showed me all these brilliant drawings, paintings, Ethiopian style of Ethiopia. Now, I had the feeling that his artwork was sort of hidden from public view because the authorities didn't like that sort of art. I'm not sure though. I just had that gut feeling because we had to go downstairs and it was all very secretive. And then we went out that night to a nightclub, and one of the things about jazz in Ethiopia, which I've since found out, is they have some of the best jazz musicians in the world. So it had the best coffee, the best food, and the best jazz. They then invited me back to where they lived, and I stayed with them. Right, to cut a long story short, got to Asmara, came back, had the most amazing time with the Afari people, and also had an amazing time previously with the Nubian people in Khartoum and also southern Sudan. And both of those warrior-like tribes, I suppose, were just incredibly kind and generous towards me. And that's been with me all my life. To be just people being kind and generous, which really fundamentally reflects my economics, which is all about the community. It all starts off with the community, and so your economics should be community based and not based on individualism, which is what we currently have, which is all about self-interest. And I've written various articles which says if we all follow our own self-interest, that will ultimately lead to our own self-destruction, and if we all follow self-interest on a national level, that will also self-destruct. And that's really what we have now in the world at large, because we have a climate crisis, and we also have a food crisis, but we also have an addiction crisis. And these things are making it very, very difficult to move forward in society. So what I'm really saying is the food and energy, some of the ideas that I got down in food and energy, and as I said, I'm 60 years old and I've read an enormous number of books and everything else, but like any dad, right, all you tend to really worry about is your family, your kids, your wife, have they got a roof over their head and everything else. So one of the things, look, I won't be elected, but if I was elected by by some miracle, I'm only going to pay myself 12,000 quid, because it's not all about money. I have everything that I want. I just want my kids to be happy. I want my wife to be happy. Apologies to my wife, because I'm pretty difficult to live with right now, because I'm doing all of this sort of stuff. But I see the world in a different way, because I've seen horror, okay, and I've seen the world's worst things, I guess. But I've also seen absolute beauty and community and friendship and laughter, right? And that's what I want for the world at large, obviously. Now, it sounds very namby-pamby, but I think that the policies that I'm outlining, Green Revolution, getting decent food inside people, getting big corporations to tell the truth what is happening to society, are just fundamentally so important, because that's basically what most people want. I'm to live in a town called Framlingham, and one of the biggest. Okay, so the Nubian people and the Afari people have influenced me massively, and I read loads of books, and I'll read this one. This book will influence me massively. I wish I had like a bookcase behind me, and I can just show you all the different books that I've just read in the last year. You know, where I sleep is just surrounded by books about food, about oil, about corruption, about different systems, about I've just brought 5 along here this morning. Okay, so this is Elizabeth Salander. I love her, just this brilliant personality in this book. This is called Metabolical, really cool book. Just talking about how our metabolism affects everything and how it's been wrecked by society. This is a book on cycling, etc. So I'm looking around for another book. Yeah, cool. This is a book on cycling. I read this later at night to take me to sleep. Just a really cool book, 99p from the local bookshop. This is a bit about no digging allotments. This is a book about ultra processed food, and probably one of the most important books I've read. Not this one, Planet on Fire. I found it really mind-blowingly boring and depressing. But this one, The Budget Deficit Myth, did have a big impact upon me. And this lady is probably one of the main figures behind the Inflation Reduction Act in America, which appears to be working pretty well, actually, which really is actually printing money and putting it into the economy and creating some form of green revolution. Okay, so, and actually they got reasonable economic growth on the back of that. It's bottom up, so it's coming from the bottom, so it's not trickle down economics where the rich get richer, get even richer, and then a few crumbs will eventually come down to those who are poorer in society. This is all about bottom up economics, where you create real jobs, creating real things, but basically based on a sustainable future. Right, so that is what I'm saying. So I'm also saying economics is all about the community. And we've had this neoliberalist idea that we base it on individualism. So therefore, if you're an individual and you fail, that is your fault because you weren't strong enough and you weren't hard enough. Right? Working as an individual doesn't work. If you look at economic growth over the last 40 years, every single decade it's gone down since we've adopted this neoliberalist approach. And I'm not against all privatisation or deregulation. But the water industry is just a really good example, and the rail industry is as well, really. But the water industry especially is a really good example of just taking those ideas to the extreme, where we pay out £72 billion in dividends, we all shit in the sea, so we can't even go swimming, we can't go into our rivers anymore, we have no regulations on this sort of thing, and the water companies, despite the fact we've got climate change, aren't building any water reservoirs because they cost money and therefore their profits go down. So although I'm basing everything on community-based economics, but that doesn't mean, but actually basing on community, in a sense, also gives the individual more freedom. So now let's take it right down to the micro family. So if you have an individual within a family, and that family provides a reasonable community, right, then that individual can go out, flourish, and really do anything that they want because they always have that stability, that little community around them. But how much better if you have like the family community, and then you have your sort of cousin type community, and if you go further than that, your local community, and they're all looking out for you because you're much stronger because you're part of that community. You can still be an individual within that community. right? So you can still do whatever you want to do. And look, I'm a teacher, so I'm always saying to kids, it's in a sense, it is up to you, but don't forget about the community. And obviously, we are here to help you in terms of what you do, but we are so much stronger together, and it works on a community level. So I happen to live in a town called Framlingham. So one of the best things in my life, right? Okay, so the best thing in my life, and Nubian people, Afari people, great. But it was actually working or running a football team, and I'm used to football, running a local football team in the local community, which is run purely by volunteers. That's great. That was magical. That's one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And I'm sorry I haven't given more to it, because I've partly been thinking all these things about apologies to Fram Football Club that I haven't given all my time to them. But this is it, right? After 60 years, this is why I'm standing at this election, because I believe we've got it wrong. It should be community based, and my Green Revolution idea is the basis for every community. Is that every community, okay, it attaches to the national network, will be brilliant. The benefits attached to a global network of energy, but it's owned by the local community. It's run by the local community. The profits go back into the local community, and then the individual there, because they're not paying so much on their energy, or for example their housing, where all the money, all this printed money has gone into housing and not into, say, a green revolution, is that those systems are creating an enormous amount of stress on society. Is if anyone who's trying to buy a house will find it incredibly difficult, and then that adds more stress to society. So it's based on all of these things. You just have to it's a word I constantly use during these videos. You just have to reimagine the future, right? I'll be attacked. People say, "Oh, look, he's mad, he's crazy," all that sort of stuff. I don't care, because we're going wrong. I'm asking questions of the system, and all I do is I look at the experts, the scientists, and read up what they have to say, whether that's on food, whether that's on smoking, whether that's on community, right? I'm just an open book who's read a lot of books about the way in which we can transform society. So that's what the Food and Energy Party is all about. I'm hopefully going to go out on this bike, right? It's all going to be a bit rough, like the 10 videos that I produced this morning. I think it's 10 anyway. And I'm just going to go out there and fight for what I happen to believe is right. So thank you. Bye.